and we are calling it iPhone. Today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone.
January 9th, 2007. Steve Jobs walks on stage and says, "Today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone." And he does. The iPhone changes everything. Before that, the iPod changed music. The Mac changed computing. The iPad changed tablets. Apple didn't just make products, they changed entire industries. But what if none of that happened? What if in 1976, Steve Jobs never teamed up with Steve Wozniak? What if Apple was never founded? Would you even have a smartphone right now? Would computers look completely different? The 1970s without Apple. It's 1976. Steve Wozniak builds a personal computer in his spare time. He's working at HP. In our timeline, Steve Jobs convinces him to start a company. They call it Apple. They build computers in Jobs' parents' garage. In the alternate timeline, Jobs isn't interested. Maybe he stays at Atari. Maybe he goes to India and never comes back. Without Jobs pushing him, Wozniak probably shows his computer design to HP. They might patent it. But HP was focused on business computers, not personal ones. They probably pass on it, so Wozniak's design just sits there. Maybe he builds a few for friends. The Apple. Never becomes a product. The Apple II never exists. The personal computer revolution still happens, but it's led by IBM and Microsoft. IBM releases the PC in 1981, but without Apple pushing innovation, progress happens slower. Computers stay boring beige boxes for way longer. No one's thinking about design. Computers are tools, not consumer products, and they stay in the realm of tech nerds and businesses. Normal people don't buy them. They're too complicated, too ugly. Act 2. The 1980s and 90s look different. 1:15 to 2:25. In our timeline, Apple visits Xerox PARC in 1979 and sees the graphical user interface. Mouse, windows, icons. Jobs builds the Macintosh. In the alternate timeline, that doesn't happen. Xerox sits on the technology. Maybe Microsoft still copies it, but it happens years later. The 1980s stay stuck in the command line era. DOS dominates. You need to type commands to do anything. Microsoft still exists, Bill Gates still builds Windows, but without Apple as competition, Windows develops slower. Desktop publishing never takes off in the 80s. The Mac revolutionized graphic design. Without it, newspapers keep using traditional methods for another decade. Designers, musicians, video editors. All the creative professionals who relied on Macs, they're stuck with inferior tools. Fast forward to 2001. In our timeline, Apple releases the iPod. 1,000 songs in your pocket. Without the iPod, digital music happens eventually, but differently. Maybe Sony's Walkman evolves, but it's clunkier. The smartphone revolution delayed. January 2007. In our timeline, Jobs reveals the iPhone. It's revolutionary. A phone, an iPod, and an internet device in one. No physical keyboard, just a touch screen. Multi-touch. Revolutionary. In the alternate timeline, BlackBerry still dominates. Physical keyboards. Email-focused. They're business phones, not consumer phones. Smartphones still evolve, but they look different. Maybe they're all BlackBerry style with keyboards, maybe Microsoft and Nokia dominate, maybe Android still launches in 2008 but looks completely different without iOS to compete against. Touchscreens might not become standard for years. The technology exists, but without Apple proving people want it, manufacturers stick with what they know. Keyboards, styluses, small screens, resistive touchscreens that need a stylus. Here's the big one. The App Store launches in 2008. It creates the entire app economy. Uber, Instagram, Spotify, everything you use daily. None of that exists without the App Store showing how it's done. In the alternate timeline, the app economy develops way slower. Maybe Google still launches an App Store for Android, but without Apple's model, it's messier, less profitable. Developers make less money. Apps are lower quality, which means the entire startup ecosystem of the 2010s looks different. No Instagram sold for $1 billion. No Uber worth hundreds of billions. The mobile-first revolution happens years later, maybe a decade later. Your phone in 2025, it probably has a slide-out keyboard, a smaller screen. It's thicker, it's uglier, it does less. You probably use it mainly for calls and texts, not as your life hub. Tech culture without Apple. Here's something people don't think about. Apple didn't just make products. They changed how people think about technology. Apple proved design matters. Tech could be beautiful, user-friendly, intuitive. Without Apple, tech stays utilitarian, function over form. Devices are ugly, but functional. Microsoft dominates completely, but Microsoft's philosophy is different. They're about compatibility and business, not delighting users. Technology stays a tool, not a lifestyle. You don't identify with your phone brand. Tech is boring and practical. Silicon Valley culture is different too. Without Jobs as the visionary archetype, tech CEOs stay low-key. No cult of personality. Tablets might not exist at all. The iPad created that market in 2010. Without Apple validating the concept, maybe we just use laptops forever. The Apple Watch makes smartwatches mainstream in 2015. Without it, wearables stay niche fitness trackers. Who fills the void? Here's the thing though, Steve Jobs didn't invent these ideas. He took existing concepts and made them better, more accessible. Without Apple, someone else probably fills parts of the void. Maybe Sony becomes the design-focused tech company. Maybe Samsung innovates more. Remember Palm? They made the Palm Pilot in the 90s. In our timeline, they failed to transition to smartphones. In the alternate timeline, maybe they succeed. Google still exists and still innovates. Android still happens. But without iOS to compete with, it evolves differently. Maybe Microsoft's Windows Phone actually succeeds without iPhone eating market share. Overall, innovation probably happens. Just slower, more incremental, less revolutionary. One upside, though. Without Apple setting premium prices, tech might be cheaper. No $1,000 phones, no $2,000 laptops. Your life today. So what does your life look like in 2025 without Apple? Your phone is bulkier, has a physical keyboard, does significantly less. You use it mainly for calls and messages, maybe some basic web browsing. Your computer runs Windows or Linux. It's functional but very ugly. Just a tool for work. No sleek design. If you're a creative professional, your job is significantly harder. The software is clunkier, the workflows are messier, you get less done. You probably still buy CDs or pirate music. You don't carry your entire music library in your pocket. Social media looks different. Instagram might not exist at all. Facebook probably stays desktop focused for years longer. You're less connected overall, which might be good. You look up from your phone more, but you're also less able to do things on the go. Steve Jobs didn't invent computers or phones or music players, but he made them desirable. He made them intuitive. He made them part of your identity. Without Apple, those revolutions still probably happen. Just slower, less elegantly, with less impact on culture. Technology stays an appliance instead of becoming an experience. You use it, but you don't love it. One partnership in a garage in 1976 led to the smartphone in your pocket, the laptop you work on, and the way you listen to music. Remove that partnership, and the 21st century looks completely different. Less connected, less designed, less magical, but maybe also less addictive, less expensive, less dominated by a few tech giants. Would that be better or worse? Like most what-if scenarios, there's no clear answer. Would you want to live in a world without iPhones? Let me know in the comments, but that's a story for another what if.